I'm back. Hello.
Were you on strike like Michael was, or what?
No, I was moving.
Oh, okay.
Right across the river. I can see my old house from my new house.
Hello, 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 and welcome back to HunterTuned. Today we are in the garage at home. We are not at the shop because we are doing a little fun side project, and actually have had quite a bit of fucking interest in the damn scooter. I've had quite a few people actually that were interested in seeing some scooter content. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to pull the scooter in the garage and kind of show you what we're all going to do to it, and hopefully go have some fun with it and make it rip tater chip. Rip like a tater chip? Is that how that goes?
Never ripped it.
Oh, yeah, really?
I've never ripped it.
Christian's first time with VR.
You filming?
We all know what he's doing tonight.
Are you filming?
Alrighty guys, so we are going to work on a Chinese GY6 150cc scooter, and we're going to be installing some hop-up parts, and we're just going to get all the plastics and body work off of this thing so we can have more access to the engine and get it apart. And I'm going to kind of walk you guys through everything, but just taking the plastics off of the scooter is going to be a little bit different depending on what model scooter you have. You know, just take the bolts out and eventually it just all the plastics will fall off. You just got to keep taking screws out. And if it doesn't come off, you got to take more screws out. So right now we're about halfway there. We probably got another couple screws. So is there another screw over there, Christian?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that 10 mil right there.
Nope.
Wrong way.
I don't think you go the right way.
So currently, this scooter in stock form, I did want to do some testing with it in stock form to kind of see what I could get out of it. The factory carburetor that was on this thing was jetted extremely rich, and I ended up throwing a leaner pilot jet in the scooter and it started running way better. So I bought a carburetor on eBay, and if you guys didn't want to mess with the carb and you had a bad carburetor on yours, or that the scooter just was lacking power, I would recommend picking up a carburetor on eBay because they're fairly cheap. I think I paid 20 bucks for the carburetor that I bought, so I just got a brand new carburetor on it, and just kind of got this engine dialed in as much as I could before I did the big bore kit. And we'll do more tuning and more dialing in once I get the big bore kit in, and I'll probably go over all the stuff that I did to the stock engine. But currently with the setup I have in here right now, pretty much bone stock. It has the factory airbox, factory exhaust that I just kind of modified. I chopped it off, chopped the cap off, and then gutted out the inside of it pretty much, and then welded the cap back on. That's pretty much all I did to the muffler. I actually have a performance exhaust coming for it, and we'll be putting the exhaust on when it gets here. But to be completely honest, guys, I bought this scooter for 150 bucks, not running good, and fixed it up. And all these hop-up parts, I will probably have $300 into the whole thing, all said and done, with all the hop-up parts that I bought. So if you guys are wondering why I'm building a scooter, it's just because it's kind of like a fun little project to get into, I suppose. And it's super cheap, so a lot of people could do this. You could find a scooter like this for $100 or so, and you can put a lot of these hop-up parts in, learn how to wrench on something, and just have a lot of fun. So that's what we're going to try to show you guys, is how to hop up the engine on one of these scooters. This will apply to any GY6 style engine. Doesn't matter if it's a 50, 150, 250, whatever, they're all kind of the same thing. So yeah, without further ado, we got almost all the floor pan off of the thing. Christian's over here telling me to come look at a spider.
It's huge. Like, I got a big thumb, and that's...
Oh, fuck. Yeah, so here's the old carburetor that was on the scooter, and just took the float bowl off and was changing some jets around with this. I played with the needle height a little bit, and just really couldn't get it to run that good. I got it running good, like wide open, but it would always have like a little stutter here and there. And me being a tuner with cars and stuff, this thing was just kind of driving me nuts, and I'm like, I'm gonna start with a fresh carburetor, and I just threw the fresh carb on it and made a world of difference. So the old 150 here without the big bore kit is doing 60 miles an hour as is. So we're gonna see how much faster it gets with the big bore and a couple other hop-up parts. All right, guys, so we're gonna start tearing into this thing. And first things first is we got all the plastics off in the seat and all that stuff, so we have access to the engine here. And now we are going to be removing the carburetor. So that's gonna be the first thing that we're gonna take off. And to remove the carb, you pretty much just need to remove the throttle cable here. So there's a little flap here where the cable goes. You just yank this thing off, bend her around, give her a little 1-2 tug, comes out. And then there's a little bracket here with a 12mm wrench. So we're gonna take this and loosen one of the jam nuts on the throttle here. Take that guy off. And there we go, our throttle cable is removed. We'll just take this and lay it off to the side. And then next we have auto enrichener here. So there's just a little plug. You got to unplug it. This is just the, it's called an auto enrichener, kind of like a choke for the carburetor. It's electronic, so we've got that unplugged. And then next we will remove the vacuum line from the carburetor. So that just goes right here. Actually, we'll remove it down here. So there's a couple different vacuum systems on the scooter here. It comes from the intake manifold, goes up to the gas tank to feed the petcock to pump fuel, because this doesn't have a fuel pump, it's just vacuum operated. So the vacuum needs to come off the intake, go to that, and then also go to the carburetor. So there we go, our vacuum lines are off. And then next we will remove the other vacuum line, which goes up to the evap canister here, which is for like your oil catch can, because these things kind of have an oil catch can set up factory. And then after that, we are going to remove the fuel line, which is on the bottom side of the carburetor here. Actually, it's like bottom side. It's not on the total bottom of the carb, but it's on the side of the carb here. So we take that off, put that up and away, tuck it up, because if it's not up, it's going to leak gas. So we got that off, and now we have a flathead screwdriver here for a hose clamp that hooks up the intake box to the carburetor. So this is like your cold air intake or your air box, whatever you want to fucking call it, depending on if you're a Honda boy or not a Honda boy. And then there's another clamp on the front, which clamps the carburetor into the intake manifold that feeds into the cylinder head. So we're going to remove the air box and remove the carburetor out of the intake manifold that goes into there. And there we are. Carburetor is removed. I have taken this carburetor on and off probably 10 times in the last day.
Just trying to get all of...
Just jetting it and playing around with stuff, because I bought a jet kit. So if you guys are building one of these, I highly recommend buying a jet kit. So this is the main jet kit. Comes with 10 different sizes, ranging from 100 to 140 size main jet. I currently have a 125 in it, and it seems to run pretty good. Anything smaller than that, and I could just tell that the motor was kind of lean, so I'd rather be fucking richer than leaner. They actually make more horsepower if they're richer, unless it's choking on fuel. If it's choking on fuel, then it's going to run a little shittier, obviously. So now that the carb is off, we're going to remove the intake manifold here, which is two 10mm bolts. So we'll just yank this guy off. Oop. And I bought a aftermarket intake manifold for this thing as well. Mind you guys, all these parts that I have into this scooter, I've spent $150. So I got a CDI box, aftermarket coil, spark plug, that was $9. The coil, the CDI, and the spark plug was $9. The CDI is going to be like an aftermarket ECU pretty much, and it advances the ignition timing, and it actually does. Like, I definitely could tell the motor ran a little bit different when I installed that, and it made, you know, a little bit better power. It wasn't anything crazy, but it does help a little bit. So two 10 mils removed here on the intake, and we just pulled this guy up. Just looks like this. And like I said, I got an aftermarket intake manifold for it, but it's too long and it doesn't actually fit on this scooter. So I could probably make it work by flipping it the other way and running the carb out the front, but I don't really want to do that. I'm just going to stick with the old stocker for now. And then underneath the intake manifold, there's a spacer, like a throttle body spacer kind of thing. Okay, so now, after all that's done, we are going to remove these covers here. There's like a bunch of little plastic covers. It looks like there's a vacuum line here. This is just like a breather vent for the valve cover. So we'll take that off. And then a couple screws to take the plastics off. But before we take the plastic engine shroud off, we're gonna have to remove the spark plug wire. So we'll just pull that, tuck that off to the side, and then all this stuff is just like your evap and oil catch can stuff. So we'll tie this out of the way as well. Out of sight, out of mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then next, it's fucking hot in here, dude.
Yeah, it is.
It is fucking warm in this fucker, dude. I'm gonna have to fucking take a goddamn breather.
Not like there's a fan right there or anything.
Yeah, I know. We should probably turn that fucker on, eh? Alright, we'll get the engine covers off and then we'll take a break. So 8 mil screws on the engine cover here, or Phillips head, whatever you prefer. I'm probably just gonna use a Phillips because I don't have an 8 mil that fits in here.
Are you putting these plastic covers back on?
Nah, fuck it. Let this fucker get hot. I don't care.
Because the plastic's holding out a lot of heat. You know?
It helps direct the heat out of the clutch fan because there's a fan over here that helps cool the motor, but fuck it.
Yeah,
she probably makes more horsepower when she's hot.
Just take that cover off so it'll stay cold all the time.
Yeah. So there's a screw up there, then there's two on the side over here for the cover. So we're just ripping these suckers off. Or if we pull hard enough, it'll probably just break.
Right.
That's always an option.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a screw right here. Oh, there's an 8. Perfect.
Once again.
If you can't get all the bolts out, just pull harder.
There's going to be a little wind noise.
Yeah, sorry for the wind noise. We just transferred into a tunnel. But it was way too goddamn hot in the garage. So we had to turn the fan on. So I'm sorry.
This garage got pretty hot.
Yeah, but anyways, we are taking the EGR evap setup off right now. Actually, I think this is just like evap shit. There's just like a little tube on the valve cover here. And then it connects to this hose that goes back to a solenoid thing. Fucking plunger, vacuum operated bullshit and thing. And then you have this little tube here. Yeah. I think this is EGR actually. Wonder if they make a block off. They probably do. Alright, so now that that's off, this is the other end of the EGR. That bolts onto the valve cover over here. And then that little tube here. And then we'll take the exhaust off, which is 2 bolts on the bottom. Normally they're 10 mil.
Oh yeah, but
I had to hog mine out, and it's a 13. Son of a bitch.
See if I can find a 1/2-inch pup cat here. Look at that, 1/2 inch. There you go, pup.
Same socket I used to put it on.
I know. That's what gave it away.
I know, right?
What are you taking off back there?
Another one of the covers, plastic covers here. Just because I don't like it.
Oh, okay.
I like seeing raw engine parts. Makes me feel like I have a Harley
Right.
instead of a scooter. You know what I mean?
Oh, someone's eating.
I'll show you.
Someone.
I'll show you a trick here. Ooh, we got to put that ground back on.
Yeah. Something was eating that fucking fan in there.
That's just because of the RPM.
Oh yeah.
This fucker probably spins 50 grand.
Oh yeah. Just one of them ZX14s.
Yeah, I'm working on it. It's a, you know, it's a build in progress here, but you know, we're hoping to go 750s in the quarter.
Yep.
Right around 220 mile an hour. Should be doable. This is your crank sensor, if you didn't know, or your coil pickup. So when this thing spins,
it hits that magnet.
This little magnet right here, which is wore the fuck out. And that's what tells your spark plug to fire.
So is that like a Hall effect sensor?
Yep. Just like a crank sensor or anything really.
Dude, we should get some coilovers.
Oh yeah, Dad. Cut the springs, dude. Slam it.
Right.
Okay. So this scooter had like a pretty bent up frame setup here. So the exhaust doesn't really bolt up in the proper spot. So I had to use a different bolt and nut to get the exhaust bolted on.
Is it the same exhaust on the new head and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Where'd you order a performance exhaust? That's pretty performance.
Yeah, you see that?
Uh-huh.
That fucker's dialed. Oh wow, I did a good RTV job on it.
Bro, RTV doesn't work on exhaust.
Says the guy that's never ran it. There we go. So I bought this scooter and it had stripped out exhaust threads on it. So I rammed in a bigger stud and it had no gasket, so I RTV'd it. And it worked great.
Right.
All right, so now everything is ready to remove. So now we get into the interesting stuff, and that is removing the, taking apart the engine. So now that the exhaust and all that other stuff is removed, we can remove the valve cover here. So it's just 4 8mm bolts.
There you go.
Looks fucking mint. How's the lash? Oop, hang on, we'll put her at TDC. Where's TDC here? Holy fuck, these valves are tight as shit. Oh. Yeah, they're really tight. Good thing we're putting a new head on.
Yeah.
Alright, so next, we are going to, we should take the spark plug out of this thing. Actually, nah, we don't need to.
Well, it's all coming off.
Yeah. So we're going to be removing the 4 bolts here.
The nuts. They're nuts.
4 nuts, whatever.
They're not bolts. They're nuts.
Yeah, they take after its owner. They're nuts. So we'll remove these guys. There's a couple washers behind the nuts. Ow!
Crisscross pattern.
Yeah, fuck it. It's a scooter. These studs are fucking grade 5 and they hold the motor together. I don't think it matters. Ooh, the fucking bolts smell like burnt oil. I like it.
You're probably burning just a little bit.
It was definitely burning oil before.
You take off and this fucker just.
This smells like the same thing when you remove like main studs from a Honda.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what it smells like. All right, so now that those 4 are removed, we can take the rocker assembly off.
Yeah, it does. Wow. I just got hit with it.
Yep, it smells like fucking taking main caps off a Honda. All right, so the rocker pads look decent. I'll put some dirt on it before we throw them back in to make sure that they get fucking wore out.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's that. There's a little pin that drives through the rockers here. So make sure that pin doesn't come out, I guess. Yeah.
I guess.
Make sure you have a clean workstation.
Yep.
And then the cam here is stuck, so we can't get this off until we take the tensioner off. So we have to take off the 2 bolts right here,
The 2 8
which
mils.
tension the timing chain. Right now it's too tight. I can't remove the cam because the chain is too tight. So we'll take off these 2 bolts here, which is the cam chain tensioner. Uno, dos,
Straight. I don't know French. I don't
Me
know what you're
neither.
saying.
Might need to give this thing a whack job.
I don't think that was gonna do it.
There we go. Gave her a whack job. There you go. There's the tensioner. Yep. There you go.
That's
Now the chain's loose as fuck. So we can just kind of remove it. You know what I mean? Just like that. Okay. Cam is out. That thing looks wore the fuck out. Looks like, smells like tuna. Yeah. So we're gonna be ditching this thing, putting in a better cam.
And you got to remember, this thing's only got 3,500 miles on it.
Yeah. Wore out. That's why I like Honda scooters and stuff are more expensive because they're just built better. This
Right.
thing's kind of a turd. It's got dual valve springs though. Look at that.
Oh yeah, it does.
Fucking spring inside a spring. Okay, so now we have 2 bolts right here on the driver's side of the scooter, which hold the cylinder head on. It's a 6-bolt head, bro. 6-bolt. Okay, so now that those are off, the cylinder head comes off. Okay, and then you're gonna have 2 dowel pins here. You got dowel here and a dowel kitty corner. And we got the studs,
The head bolts.
the head bolts. Oh wow. That fucker's been burning oil, bro. You can tell by the way it is. Do you agree?
You can look at it and go, yup.
Fucker's burning oil.
Burning oil. I could show
Oh, there's
that.
a dowel here and here too.
I could show that to my blind brother and be like, yup. Burning oil.
Alright, next is the jug. We like big jugs around here, huh? Wow, that head gasket's paper thin. Literally.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty neat. Ooh, there's a chunk of metal. That's probably not good.
Oh no, that's
see that?
good. Yeah.
Look at that. I wonder if the piston.
No, that's
Oh,
not
that's from
metal.
from
Yeah.
the base thing, yeah. So head gasket's there, and then now we can remove the jugs. Jugular. Remove the jugular. Oh, dude, this fucker's shot. Holy fuck. This thing's gonna rip. This piston's fucked. Hang on. We might have 2 more bolts holding the fucking jug on. Maybe. No, we don't. We definitely don't. We just got to give it a whack job. Give it a jack off. Always use rubber mallets, kids.
Make sure you don't damage that.
There we go. Jug's coming off. And the piston sits inside of the cylinder here, the jug. But as we're pulling it up, the piston's going to stay. and it's not going to come with it.
Right.
So we're pulling this out. We got to make sure that the chain here, you know, comes off, which is going to stay with the rest of the engine, not the jug. This fucker's gonna rip, dude. Look at how fucked this piston is.
Oh my god. Wow.
That piston's fucked.
Yeah. The top of it doesn't.
And it ripped.
It doesn't look
That fucker ripped.
bad, but oh my god.
That thing is wore out, dude. Holy shit. Wow, good piston to wall clearance, I suppose. We probably could have boosted this thing and it probably made good jam. Alright, so this is your other timing chain guide, which sits in the head, and then you have one of them that sits in the case, in the block. So there's that.
Goddamn K series.
Dude, look at the fucking in here.
That's fucked.
Dude. This thing literally did 60.
Yeah.
Like this.
I got her cruising about 50. I was like, it's sketchy enough.
Right? Wow. Fucking garbage. Alright, we gotta bring her up. Oop.
I got the chain.
Bring her up to top dead center here. Should probably turn the fan off. Watch all this footage be fucked because of the wind.
Right.
And then we can film it. Or whatever. Still film.
We need a beer sponsor.
Yes. I agree.
I wonder who.
That's what fuels the channel.
Quite literally.
Alright, so now we are removing the piston from the connecting rod. And to do that, you need to take off the C-clips, or the circlips, on the wrist pin here. Which you just take a little flathead screwdriver, and there's a lip. Or there's like a little thing here.
Yeah, it's an E-clip.
It's like a little clip. And you pretty much just got to take a flathead in there and pry it out. So now we got both the clips out. I'm going to put that over on that cylinder. Over. Okay, so now that both of those are out, we can just push the wrist pin out, or should be able to.
Just don't stab yourself.
Might be a little sticky with how hot this fucker got. Okay, so we got to drive the wrist pin out of this thing, and I'm using a 3/8 extension here with a ratchet as a hammer. Is she coming?
Mm-hmm.
Cringe alert. Remember, it was $100, so fuck off. Look at that. It's a scooter, guys, just remember. Okay, piston off. Take a good look at that fucking piston.
Oh, bottom side ain't too bad, comparatively.
So we could check our rod bearing now. So the connecting rod right here, that fucker's actually kind of beefy. Not really, but...
It's like a D16 rod.
No shit! So we can just make sure it doesn't have any play up and down, which it doesn't. Side to side play is normal, up and down, not so much. So we know that the bearings and connecting rod here are good. If you guys don't know, that these connecting rods are actually formed to the crank, like there's no bolts.
All right.
There's no like rod bolts. Yeah, because that's just how they are. It's just a circle. I think that's how they are. Yeah. So if you blow the bottom end out, you're fine. You just get a new motor. Yeah. So, anyways, we're good to go. We got the whole assembly removed.
Somebody's got to know somebody. Get a sponsor.
So this is our new cylinder that we're going to be installing. Very nice piece, actually. Like the cross hatching is fucking awesome.
Oh wow, yeah.
Like look at that. That fucker is nice.
Right.
So, yeah, this whole kit came with a cylinder, cylinder head, cam, piston, gaskets, everything. $90.
Not bad.
So,
Is this the one you ordered when you were messing around with my car? Or no?
I don't remember. So some of these kits actually require you to bore the block, like
Right,
to hog
just hog
this,
it out.
hog that out. So I'm just gonna make sure that this fits. I think it will. I hope it does. Fuck. Damn it. Gotta hog her out.
Oh yeah.
Damn it. That's why I checked. All right, to be continued.
Yep.
All right, guys, so we ran into a little bit of a hiccup with installing the big bore kit, so this is just going to be the teardown video, I suppose. We can't install the big bore kit because we have to modify the engine case because the cylinder, the jug where the piston slides in, the sleeve there, the sleeve is actually too big and does not fit into the case. The engine block does not fit. The piston itself fits, but not the cylinder. So we have to either go to the shop and get a die grinder or like a Dremel tool and just kind of try to Dremel the case out a little bit, or we can try to sand it or file it. I'm not exactly sure what we're gonna do. Yeah, so we gotta frickin' bore the case out. I thought this kit, this big bore kit, did not require this, but it does. So stay tuned for the next video, and we will definitely be hogging the fucking block out, leaving the shavings in and everything, and kicking a rod the next day. So yeah, new cylinder, old cylinder. Old cylinder literally fits inside of new cylinder because, yeah, that's just how it rolls, I guess. But anyways, thanks for watching the teardown, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this little scooter content. And yeah, we're going to figure out a way to Dremel that fucker out. Because I'm not pulling the crank out of this thing because I don't really want to. I could pull the crank out and then just go get a hole saw or something and cut it. But there's not a lot of room between where the studs go into the case and how far we got to Dremel it. So if you guys can see down here, these are the bolts where the studs go that run and hold the cylinder down to the case, and there's really not a lot of meat.
There's about that much.
There is not fucking much. So I've heard of guys having issues when they bore it with like a Dremel tool or something like that, that it will rip the studs out of the case and the case will like break. But we'll figure it out, I suppose. Fucking hog her out and send it. I don't really see how that would really fuck up the... I mean, maybe it would. I don't know. It's hard to say, I guess. Thanks for watching. Have a great night, a better tomorrow, and we'll catch you later.